Hey folks, how's it going? Matt Ryder here. Welcome to day 4 of National Poetry Month 2020, um, COVID edition. Gonna read a couple more poems for you today. I think I'm sitting down for today because it's Saturday. Why can't I sit down? Um, and I'm just getting the remaining light of the day to help me out. We're gonna start with another obscure poet, T.S. Eliot. um, and we're gonna just read one section of his poem, "The Wasteland." Um, yeah, if you were looking for happy poems today, maybe not. Maybe you'll get a little bit in a little bit here. We'll see. But nevertheless, we're just gonna read the first section of the poem called "The Burial of the Dead," and gonna try my best to sit down and read, which isn't always easy, but not for projecting anyway. But enjoy. Hopefully, folks, I don't speak German. I know a little bit of Yiddish, but just terrible expressions like "sei gesund" and "lej milchup" and "es ist gewesen Schicksal," but that's about it. All right. Sorry, a little levity to get us going before the title of the first section of the poem, which is "The Burial of the Dead." April is the cruelest month, breeding lilacs out of the dead, mixing memory and desire, stirring dull roots with spring rain. Winter kept us warm, covering earth in forgetful snow, feeding a little life with dried tubers. Summer surprised us, coming over the Strandbergese. See, I told you I'd struggle with that. With a shower of rain. We stopped in the colonnade, and we went on in sunlight into Hofgarten, and drank coffee and talked for hours. Bin gar kein Russen, stamm aus Lituan, echt Deutsch. And when we were children, staying with the archdukes, my cousins, he took me out on a sled, and I was frightened. He said, "Marie, Marie, hold on tight." And down we went in the mountains. There you feel free. I read much at night and go south in the winter. What are the roots that clutch the branches? What are the roots that clutch? What branches grow out of this stony rubbish? Son of man, you cannot say or guess, for you know only. A heap of broken images where the sun beats, and the dead tree gives no shelter, the cricket no relief, and the dry stone no sound of water, only there is a shadow under this red rock. Come in under the shadow of this red rock, and I will show you something different from either your shadow at morning striding behind you or your shadow at evening rising to meet you. I will show you fear in a handful of dust. Frischt way der Wind, der Heimat zu, mein Irish kind, wo weilest du? You gave me hyacinths first a year ago. They called me the hyacinth girl. Yet when we came back late from the hyacinth garden, your arms full, your hair wet, I could not speak and my eyes failed. I was neither living nor dead, and I knew nothing. Looking into the heart of the light, the silence, under l'air das Meer. Madame Sosostris, famous clairvoyant, have a bad cold, nevertheless, is known to be the wisest woman in Europe. With a wicked pack of cards, "Here," said she, "is your card, the drowned Phoenician sailor. Those are pearls that were his eyes. Look, here is Belladonna, the lady of the rocks, the lady of situations. Here is the man with 3 staves, and here the wheel, and here is the one-eyed merchant, and this card, which is blank, is something he carries on his back, which I am forbidden to see. I do not find the hanged man, fear death by water. I see crowds of people walking round in a ring. Thank you. If you if you see dear Miss Equitone, tell her to bring her horoscope myself. Tell her I bring my horoscope myself. One must be so careful these days." Unreal city, under the brown fog of a winter dawn, a crowd flown over London Bridge, so many. I had not thought death had undone so many. Sigh, short, infrequent, were exhaled. And and each man fixed his eyes before his feet, flowed up the hill and down King William Street to where St. Mary Woolnoth kept the hours with the dead sound on the final stroke of 9. There I saw one I knew and stopped him, crying, "Stetson! You were there with me in the ships at Mylay. That corpse you planted last year in your garden, has it begun to sprout? Will it bloom this year? Or has the sudden frost disturbed its bed? Oh, keep the dog far fence, that's friend to men. Or with his nails he'll dig it up again. You hypocrite, lector, mon semblable, mon frère." T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. I want to keep going, but I almost feel like I shouldn't. Next poems I have for you today, since we're going to go in the alphabetical order, and I'm dropping things behind me. We'll do a little poem by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, since we kind of, at the end of the poem, there's the mention of the dog at the end of Eliot's first section of Burial of the Dead. And now, again, a more obscure poem from Mr. Lawrence Ferlinghetti. And we were watching, I'm totally drawing a blank on the name of the film right now. The Last Waltz by the band, and saw Lawrence Ferlinghetti do his little poem there and read his German, which was much better than mine right there, and a little French in there too. I speak English and know a little Yiddish, like I said. German and French isn't so good. But this poem I came across because, I was going back through the old collections that I like. Coney Island of the Mind is fairly well known book, and but probably this poem is not, and I liked it a lot, so I'm going to read it. And the name of the poem is Dog. The dog trots freely in the street and sees reality, and the things he sees are bigger than himself, and the things he sees are his reality. Drunk in doorways, moon on trees, the dog trots freely through the street, and the things he sees are smaller than himself. Fish on newsprint, ants in holes, chickens in Chinatown windows, their heads a block away. The dog trots freely in the street, and the things he smells smell something like himself. The dog trots freely in the street, past puddles and babies, cats and cigars, pool rooms and policemen. He doesn't hate cops. He merely has no use for them. He goes past them and past the dead cows hung up whole in front of the San Francisco meat market. He would rather eat a tender cow than a tough policeman, though either might do. And he goes past the Romeo Ravioli factory and past Coit's Tower and past Congressman Doyle's. And he's afraid of Coit's Tower, but not afraid of Congressman Doyle. Although what he wears is very discouraging, very depressing, very absurd to a sad young dog like himself, to a serious young dog like himself. But he has his own free world to live in. He has his own fleas to eat. He will not be muzzled. Congressman Doyle is just another fire hydrant to him. The dog trots freely in the streets, and his own dog's life to live and to think about, to reflect upon, touching and tasting and testing everything, investigating everything without benefit of perjury, a real realist, a real tale to tell, with it, a real live, barking, democratic dog engaged in real, free enterprise with something to say about ontology, something to say about reality, about how to see it, about how to hear it, about how his head cocked sideways at street corners as if he just about to have his picture taken for Victor Records, listening to his master's voice and looking like a living question mark into the great gramophone of puzzling existence, with its wondrous hollow horn, which always seems just about to spout forth some victorious answer to everything. I like that. Like the little RCA Victrola dog there, tilting his head. Reminds me of my dog sometimes. Lawrence Ferlinghetti, National Poetry Month. Okay, finally, last but certainly not least for today, and again, I think going in alphabetical, and the alphabetical thing is not quite working. Like I mentioned yesterday, my shelves are not quite alphabetical like I had hoped they would be. So I may go revisit stuff at the end of the month, because I missed some great poems: Armentrout, Beckman, Berman. But I'm trying to move forward, not backward, and progress the event, which is 30 days of poetry. So yeah, I'm gonna say a prayer, Kaddish. But again, instead of reading the entire thing, I'm just gonna read this final part here, which is part 4 of the hymns section, right after the hymn section of the Kaddish. And what can I say? Allen Ginsberg is probably, probably the first poems I heard. Frank O'Hara maybe, but Allen Ginsberg is probably the most famous poet I heard of when I started reading poetry, or at least acknowledging that poetry existed in the world. But I couldn't keep up with him. And so I'm just going to read just the end of the prayer here. And I apologize if it's loud. And I'm going to try to do this well, even though I'm sitting down. There's no reason I can't stand, but I don't want to mess with the camera at this point. 4. Oh, mother, what have I left out? Oh, mother, what have I forgotten? Oh, mother, farewell with a long black shoe. Farewell with Communist Party and a broken stocking. Farewell with the 6 dark hairs of your breast. Farewell with your old dress and the long black beard around your vagina. Farewell with your sagging belly, your fear of Hitler, your mouth of bad stories, with your fingers of rotten mandolins, with your arms of fat Patterson porches, with your belly of strikes and smokestacks, with your chin of Trotsky and Spanish War, with your voice singing for the decaying, over-broken workers, with your nose of bad lay, with your nose of the smell of the pickles of Newark, with your eyes of Russia, with your eyes of no money, with your eyes of false China, with your eyes of Eleanor, with your eyes of starving India, with your eyes of pissing in the park, with your eyes of America taking a fall, with your eyes of failure at the piano, with your eyes of relative in California, with your eyes of Ma Rainey dying in an ambulance, with your eyes of Czechoslovakia attacked by robots, with your eyes going to painting classes at night in the Bronx, with your eyes of the killer grandma you see on the horizon from the fire escape, with your eyes running naked out of the apartment screaming into the hall, with your eyes being led away by policemen to an ambulance, with your eyes strapped down to the operating table, with your eyes with your pancreas removed, with your eyes an appendix operation, with your eyes of abortion, with your eyes of ovaries removed, with your eyes of shock, with your eyes of lobotomy, with your eyes of divorce, with your eyes of stroke, with your eyes of alone, with your eyes, with your death full of flowers. See you guys tomorrow.